Sky Mobile sponsors the transfer window on Sky Sports News.
Let's move on to Manchester City, because Manchester City, it is our understanding, of accepted an offer from Al-Nassr in Saudi Arabia for their defender, Aymeric Laporte. And we'll go back to you for an debate on this one, because why would Aymeric Laporte make this move at this stage of his career?
I feel as though he's at the point in his career where he's won 5 Premier Leagues, 2 FA Cups, he's won a Champions League. Al-Nassr have Mane, Cristiano, Brozovic, completely different lifestyle. And he's had a period where he was injured, only featured 12 times last season. He's just recently become a father, he's got a young family. I feel as though a bit of privacy away from sort of the limelight in the Premier League and also regular football. The problem he's going to have at Man City is Josko Gvardiol's come in, they have Stones and Diaz and Ake as well. He's going to be rotated frequently, and he probably wants to play football week in, week out. So in my mind, at 29 years of age, I think it's a very good move for him.
You two disagreed. Both of you disagreed.
Looking at his phone to see if anything was popping up of what he's been told to sign at Nabaid. No, look, what Nabaid has said is perfectly reasonable. I think he's such a good defender. I just think it's personally a little bit of a waste.
Well, there were links obviously to Tottenham Hotspur as well, but I guess it depends on the fee that obviously they might pay to Manchester City, and also the wages they're offering. He's at that age now where he might be getting that final long-term contract where he can get big wages, and obviously we've seen the numbers that have been coming out of that league, and you can understand why players are thinking about it and making that decision to go. But I guess out of kind of I think it's a shame, because it feels like he's still got so much to give in the Premier League, and so I feel
like budget plays such a big part of it. Though at this time in the window, there's just over a couple of weeks left. Someone's got to fork out a lot of money to get him away from Manchester City, and then also convince him with a salary that has to compete with Saudi Arabia. And I just think that's a very difficult task.
On Good Morning Transfers, Nabaid, you said that it felt like Aymeric Laporte had completed the Premier League. Let's have a look at what he's won in his time at Manchester City, and I guess this kind of explains what you were saying, Nabaid.
I mean, he's won every trophy available in England. Obviously, you see 4 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, 5 Premier Leagues and a Champions League. And although he didn't feature as much as maybe what he would have liked last season, he's contributed to the process that's led to them winning the Champions League. He also contributed to last season's Premier League title. And I've said this repeatedly, that I do think he's got a lot of football left in him. He was just very unlucky with that injury, and since then has struggled to get back in the side. And because City's sort of like at such a high level, and Pep Guardiola's constantly turning over players, it's very difficult for him to imagine him playing every single game next season. It's
baffling as well, because this is a guy, for me anyway, there were points during his career at Man City, he was the best centre-back in the league. He was a huge signing, wasn't he? I think maybe just before Diaz joined, and obviously kind of Diaz took his place at times, he really was that best centre-back in the league. And last season, you can understand why he might be frustrated from not getting the minutes that he wanted, only 12 games played. He has had injury issues. That's another side of it as well, and maybe he doesn't want to go. If he went to another club in the Premier League, they could put some sort of clauses or regulations about he has to meet a certain amount of games to achieve a certain amount of a wage structure, or so on and so forth. So yeah, these are all things you have to think about. And especially as an individual who has now seen his club and himself lift the Premier League numerous times, won the FA Cup, won the Champions League. I wouldn't blame him if he feels like he's completed football.
I think on that point there, Zach and Dan have both agreed that he's one of the best defenders, or certainly was at a certain point in the Premier League. He definitely probably has that level still in his body and in his legs, but he's only playing 12 times, and so he's probably desperate for a move elsewhere. And then it comes to the other points of someone has to be able to buy him and has to have the finances. So